out. I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chucky. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the poor where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, I best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent, joining you live in afternoon drive time right here in studio. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and I pop right on up, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa. Go ahead, tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you won't miss an episode. You just can't miss it because you're going to get the push notification, and there you have it. When it comes to our community calendar, we want to draw people's attention to an emergency vigil that's happening right now in response to the ICE shooting in Minneapolis. We're going to get to all the details in a moment, but you should know that ICE shot and killed an observer today in Minneapolis. There is a vigil intended to say her name on East 34th Street and Portland Avenue South in Minneapolis. It started at 5 p.m. local time today. And a little bit later this hour, we'll be joined by a friend of the show, a friend of the station, a social justice warrior on the ground. We'll be joined with Nakima Valdez Levy Armstrong. She's with the Black Lives Matter chapter in Minneapolis, and she'll be giving us an update, a live update as to what is happening on the ground this hour in Minneapolis. But now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. We go to Venezuela, where the U.S. seizes 2 tankers as Trump widens his oil grab and says that Venezuela will buy American goods with proceeds from the oil sale. You can't make this up. Donald Trump said in his post on his Truth Social platform that Venezuela will be purchasing American-made products with the money that they receive from the New Deal arranged by the administration. We know that Trump has confirmed a call with Gustavo Petro, saying that he appreciated his call and his tone. You hear that? He appreciated the call and his tone, and that the meeting between them at the White House would be arranged soon. Gustavo Petro is the president of Colombia. You might remember that the president just on Sunday on Air Force One put a number of countries on notice, including Colombia, Mexico, Cuba, and Greenland. And so he has spoken to the president of Colombia. There is a meeting at the White House being arranged soon. That's what we know at this hour. We also know that Keir Starmer spoke with Donald Trump this evening to set out his position on Greenland. That's what the UK government is reporting. They're saying that both leaders discussed the joint operation to intercept one of the tankers in the region. And Starmer had earlier said that he stood with Denmark in his defense of Greenland, and that no one else should determine the future of that vast territory after Trump said he needed it for defense. And so we'll see if NATO is sticking by Greenland. You can't make this stuff up. Moving along, back here in the United States, the LA Times reporting that Nick Reiner returns to court to swap out his high-powered lawyer for a public defender. Attorney Alan Jackson withdrew from Nick Reiner's case and was replaced by an LA County public defender. Jackson said he was leaving the case due to, quote, circumstances beyond my control. Reiner's arraignment was delayed to February 23rd, and he still has not yet entered a plea in response to the charges that he killed his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. And to Minnesota, where things are touch and go at the moment. NBC News reporting that a driver was fatally shot by an immigration agent. This is what we know about the incident at this moment. A 37-year-old woman was fatally shot by an ICE agent today after a group of people began blocking officers during an immigration-related operation in Minneapolis. A Homeland Security Department spokesperson, Tricia McLaughlin, alleged that the driver weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry said it did not appear from the video that the vehicle was being weaponized against the agent, and he called for ICE to leave the city. Saying that the agency is, quote, causing chaos and distrust. Video footage from the NBC affiliate in Minneapolis showed a burgundy SUV with what appeared to be a bullet hole in the windshield. It's not clear to whom the SUV belongs or from where the bullet was shot. Governor Tim Walz pushed back on Homeland Security's account of the shooting, saying that he's seen the video and he doesn't believe this propaganda machine. We know that protests are popping up in different parts of the country. A protest is being held in New York City after this Minnesota shooting, with some holding ICE is Trump's Gestapo signs. A crowd in New York City's Foley Square held a demonstration tonight following the fatal shooting of this woman in Minneapolis by ICE agents. We want justice. We want peace. We want ICE off our streets. That's what the protesters chanted at one point in New York City this evening. When we come forward, I'll be joined with my guest for the hour, Isaac Wilson, Democratic strategist and South Carolina Democratic Party chair. We'll also be joined with Nekima Armstrong, Nekima Levy Armstrong. We'll be joined with her at some point during this hour. She's actually at that vigil that I mentioned at the top of the show, and she will get to us in short order. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me! National news, the consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and as I mentioned before the break, there is a lot of news swirling at this hour in Minneapolis, Minnesota. For folks who are just getting up to speed on what's afoot there, there's a driver that has been fatally shot by an immigration agent. A 37-year-old woman was fatally shot by an ICE agent today after a group of people began blocking officers during an immigration-related operation in Minneapolis. That is what has transpired today. I am told that this incident actually took place less than a mile away from where George Floyd was killed. And so, as can be imagined, tensions are running high, not just in Minneapolis, but we're getting reports that there are protests that are afoot in other parts of the country. I just shared that there's a protest happening this evening in New York City. And so we're going to keep our eye on this. We have an organizer, an activist on the ground in Minneapolis that is no stranger to A More Perfect Union, no stranger to KBLA, Nakima Valdez Levy Armstrong. She's a former president of the local NAACP chapter in Minneapolis. She's affiliated with the Black Lives Matter chapter in Minneapolis. She is at a vigil being held in honor of the woman who was shot and killed by an ICE officer today, and she will be joining us in short order to give us an update as to what's happening. And I believe we have Nii-Quartelai with us. Nii-Quartelai, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Set the scene for us in Minneapolis right now. We know there are a lot of reports coming out of the city, coming out of the region right now. I had mentioned that there is a protest happening right now in New York City. What is the mood on the ground? Set the scene for us.
So I'm at a vigil right now, right outside the area where Renee Good was shot and killed by a so-called ICE agent earlier today. Renee Good was a 37-year-old white woman who showed up as a part of organized resistance that's been happening here, where, we're a very organized community because, as you said, George Floyd was killed about a mile or less, not too many blocks from where Renee Good was killed. So we've been organizing for a long, long time, even years before George Floyd. And so, our community is, they're boots on the ground. So when ICE came here, people found ways to get the word out. And so there have been a dedicated group of citizens who show up wherever they know ICE raids are happening to try to be a visible presence against this fascism and authoritarianism that's happening at the hands of the Trump administration and ICE, and trying to protect their neighbors peacefully and non-violently. And so earlier today, Renee Good was in her car and she tried to drive away, and an ICE officer opened fire at point blank range and shot her in the head. And so there was no real due process. They didn't have to use deadly force on this woman. And then after the officer shot and killed Renee Good, he walked away as if nothing happened. And he's still on the loose as far as I'm concerned, when really he should have been brought into custody at this point.
Nii-Quartelai, I've got to ask, what do you make of some of the comments that we've heard from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who said, quotes, "We have someone dead in their car for no reason whatsoever," saying that the shooting was preventable and unnecessary. We've heard a very angry Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis really tell ICE to leave, to get the F out of Minneapolis. We've seen one of the senators from Minneapolis say something quite similar in the halls of Congress today. Is that just putting it politely, or are folks on the ground sort of mad as HE double hockey sticks?
Absolutely, folks are mad. We know that our city, our state is being targeted by the Trump administration ever since Governor Walz ran as Kamala Harris's running mate for president, and called Republicans weird, MAGA weird because of what they were doing. And so since that time, there's been a concerted effort to target Minnesota. As a matter of fact, Governor Walz actually dropped out of the race for governor. He was going to run for a third term, but because of the nonstop news cycles claiming, that there's Somali fraud, in Minnesota and all this other nonsense, he actually decided to withdraw his candidacy for governor. And so there's been sustained pressure. And as a matter of fact, Kristi Noem, who is the bogus head of the Department of Homeland Security, came here a couple of days ago and said that this was the largest deployment of ICE in United States history. So they've been very intentional about targeting our state. People are mad. We have, Minnesota is about 82% white. And so a lot of the folks who show up when ICE is conducting raids, are white people. who are, trying to actively resist what is going on. And after this killing happened, ICE kept going. I mean, I got reports that they went into one of the local high schools and arrested 2 staff members, right? And so they're undeterred by this because the lies that are coming from the White House, pretending that this is justified. There's been no investigation. We've all looked at the video of what happened. We know this was an unjustified use of deadly force, but they're continuing to lie and spin the media, and of course, the president is a reality TV star. So he knows how to manipulate the media. But because of these lies, and the fact that there has been no accountability, ICE is continuing to terrorize residents of the state of Minnesota and particularly the city of Minneapolis. So I'm glad that, our government leaders are speaking up, but they can do more because some of our law enforcement agencies have cooperated with ICE. And that's part of the problem. They should be saying something then, and not allowing that.
Speaking of the president, President Trump said that the officers, quotes, acted in self-defense. President Trump posted on social media, quotes, the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer. The Department of Homeland Security is saying the officer fired, quotes, defensive shots. But Mayor Jacob Fry is saying something different. He says it does not appear the victim was driving her car towards the agent and using her car as a weapon. He mentioned she was a U.S. citizen who was, quotes, an observer and was watching out for our immigrant neighbors. That's what the Minneapolis City Council member Jason Chavez added to what the mayor had said. I want to ask you probably one of the most important questions of our time, Nikema. I think you're the perfect person to answer this as both, a Black Lives Matter activist and attorney. What's your message to the American people who may not be connecting the dots in their understanding that ICE is being unleashed on communities, that ICE is not trained in local policing, and as a result, they pose a danger to the public like we haven't seen before. And so what is your message?
I think we've seen it before. If you look historically at the role of the Ku Klux Klan, white supremacists, and even the U.S. Marshals rounding up Black folks during the so-called Fugitive Slave Act, we've seen it before, right? But we're now in the age where there is actual video, of what's happening, and we have a particular agency we can point to. But this is not unlike the same terrorism that Black folks have dealt with since our ancestors were forcibly brought here hundreds of years ago. So my message to the American people is to make sure that we wake up and we understand that this is not just about them rounding up so-called illegal aliens or criminal immigrants and all the other rhetoric, that they put forward. They are weaponizing law enforcement in ways that undermine public safety. And it doesn't matter, if someone is an immigrant or not. Renee Good was an American citizen. She was a white woman, 37 years old. So her whiteness didn't protect her. The fact that she was a woman did not protect her. The fact that she was unarmed did not protect her from being brutally gunned down by an ICE agent. And if it can happen to her, it can happen to anyone. And I just saw a report recently of a Black man in the Bay Area who was killed by an off-duty ICE agent. So we need to wake up and understand that as they're targeting one group, this is about quote-unquote immigrants. They don't care who they go after, and they're able to weaponize the law against us and their power and everything that they have at their disposal. When the Supreme Court essentially gave Donald Trump carte blanche authority for any acts that, he engages in while president, it helped to unleash this fury upon the American people. And I would help us understand none of us are safe. None of us are safe. So we need to wake up and we need to be prepared for that.
Point taken. Point taken. In our remaining minutes, Nii-Quartelai, what's our call to action tonight? You are saying the name of Renee, who was brutally killed today. When I say brutally, there are reports that she was shot in the head. I think it's important to say that. What is our call to action tonight?
I think our call to action is, number one, to say a prayer for Renee and her family, because this is just the beginning for them, losing a loved one that they held so dear. And, prayer at this point is the best we can do in this moment, but also calling for justice and accountability. We're calling for the immediate arrest of that agent who committed this vicious crime. So we'll be calling for justice, and accountability. And then the big picture is we need to look at those Republican elected officials who are in office and who are remaining silent with regard to the terrorism being unleashed at the hands of the Trump administration. This is a form of domestic terrorism as far as I'm concerned. And they're literally letting the Trump administration get away with murder. So we need to call them to account, as well as Democrats who are remaining silent and acting as if they're too afraid to stand up for the American people. If you're too afraid, then get the hell out of office. What's the point of sitting there collecting a paycheck, pretending that you care? This is a moment to show that you care. This is a moment to uphold the Constitution of the United States and not just sit back and allow these violent attacks to happen. It's just unconscionable, it's diabolical, and it's unacceptable. And this is all happening because they're all complicit. Enough is enough.
Our thanks to Black Lives Matter Minnesota activist and attorney Nii-Quartelai Valdez Levy Armstrong for joining us, for setting the scene, for helping us to be real clear-eyed about what transpired today in Minneapolis, again, less than a mile away from where George Floyd was murdered. Protests sprouting up in different parts of the country. Nii-Quartelai, I hope you'll join us again soon.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Keep the faith. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Isaac Wilson, when we come forward.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House says Minnesotans no longer support Democratic Governor Tim Walz.
I think Tim Walz probably dropped out of the race because he realizes he no longer has the support of the people of his own state.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt tied his decision to drop a third-term bid to the ongoing Somali daycare fraud scandal, calling Medicaid fraud in the state rampant and noting federal investigators are now involved. The president of Seattle's police union is stepping down. Mike Solon says he will not seek another term after serving since 2020. Solon was a controversial figure facing backlash over comments linking Black Lives Matter to January 6th and criticizing police accountability investigations. And attorney Ronald Slates has sued O.J. Simpson's estate, claiming he's owed more than $1 million in unpaid legal fees. The estate is already facing a nearly $58 million civil judgment tied to the Fred Goldman case, with a probate judge now set to sort out competing claims. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Police activity in Mid-City. Ongoing investigation after an earlier shooting on the 10 freeway has the 10 eastbound closed. You're diverted off at Crenshaw. You can reconnect with the 10 eastbound at Western. Big delays out of Santa Monica getting away from 20th Street. It's not only messing up the 10, it's clogging up all the surrounding surface streets and any freeway remotely closed, including the 101 southbound solid out of Sherman Oaks into downtown. The 10 or make out the 105 eastbound from the 405 all the way to the 605.
Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The odds makers in Vegas have a lot of confidence in the Rams for their first round playoff game Saturday at Carolina. The Rams are 10-point favorites. The Rams will have wide receiver Devontae Adams back in the lineup. Adams missed the last 3 games with a hamstring injury. The Chargers are 3.5-point underdogs in their playoff matchup Sunday night at New England. Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh's older brother John is the latest NFL head coach to lose his job. 7 teams are now looking for a head coach after Baltimore fired John Harbaugh. Harbaugh was in Baltimore 18 years. This Friday at 6 p.m., Out of Bounds is moving to prime time. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for 60 minutes of sports chatter with some black folks flavor. And you can be a part of the conversation at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Come to drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Looking for something new? Try fencing, the Olympic and Paralympic sport that mixes speed, strategy, and fun. It's like chess meets cardio. Quick feet, quick decisions, and a satisfying beat when you score a point. Kids, teens, and adults can start anytime. No experience needed, and many clubs have loaner gear. Coaches teach fundamentals and safety from day one. Find a beginner class near you at usafencing.org/tryfencing. That's usafencing.org/tryfencing.
Picture this, you're on a date and then bad breath happens. Confidence gone. Here's the truth. Most gums and mints are just bad breath Band-Aids, but not Zellman's Minty Mouth. The functional breath freshener you swallow. Tiny dual action capsules with mint on the outside, parsley seed oil inside, clinically tested to fight the toughest offenders, even garlic and onions. It's only available online. Go to Zellmans.com, Zelmins, Zellmans.com, code FRESH for 15% off.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and delighted to welcome back to the show Dr. Isaac Wilson. He's a Democratic strategist and former South Carolina Democratic Party chair. I want to talk about the politics of what is bubbling up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, really less than a mile away from where George Floyd was murdered. But right now, there's something on my heart that I just feel the need to share with the people. So just rock with me for a second. I can't forget, and we shouldn't forget, that it wasn't that long ago when candidate Donald Trump, during a campaign event, made a comment that I think still just rings in my ear, and maybe it rings in yours. He said that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, shoot someone in the head on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. That was the confidence that then candidate Donald Trump had and his ability to do what he wanted to do. Well, we don't have to think about that scenario playing out on Fifth Avenue, because that scenario has played out today in Minneapolis between an ICE agent, an agent of the Department of Homeland Security in the Trump administration, and an observer at a protest where ICE agents were gathered. There's a 37-year-old white woman who was shot in the head today, sitting in her car. The Department of Homeland Security, according to reports, say that the woman was charging the ICE agent. The President of the United States, before all the facts of the case have been released, has already said it was an act of self-defense. The Minnesota governor says absolutely not. It was not self-defense. And the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Frey, agrees with the Minnesota governor. Here we are again. Dr. Wilson, help us understand the politics that are bubbling up in Minneapolis today, politics that are leading to protests that are sprouting up in different parts of the country. I just shared that New York City is protesting right now during this hour, and it's quite possible we can see a number of other cities protesting what happened in Minneapolis today. Unpack the politics of this for us.
I think going back to Donald Trump's topic, his statement of him shooting someone on Fifth Avenue and getting away with it, I think the MAGA movement has kind of taken on that kind of rhetoric for themselves to say they can do anything because I am a product of Donald Trump. So these ICE agents are people who probably supported Donald Trump in his presidency, and they're saying I get to be him while I have this uniform on, so I can do anything, and Donald Trump will protect me. And we all know that when it's Donald Trump versus protecting someone else, Donald Trump is going to protect himself. So I don't even know why they think that Donald Trump will protect them. But let's be very clear. When immigration enforcement escalates to lethal force, the conversation can't just be about procedure. It has to be about accountability, and that's all there is. So if a civilian dies during an ICE operation, the burden isn't on the government. The burden is on the government, but not the community to explain why deadly force was necessary. So this is what happens when immigration policy is driven by fear instead of humanity. And we know Donald Trump doesn't care anything about humanity. Donald Trump wants you to fear him and fear his policies. And so this is what's happening. So we keep militarizing enforcement, then acting shocked when communities feel occupied rather than protected. So preparing the National Guard doesn't restore trust. It really just confirms people's worst fears about Donald Trump. So we have to toggle with that, and you will see these different marches and these protests pop up around our nation because people are tired of Donald Trump and can't do anything about it at this point. Nikimo makes a very good point. I don't care whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or independent. If you are not standing up today, you might as well resign and get out of office and let someone else run that is going to protect the American people and speak up for the American people, because things like this cannot happen at all in this country.
And it is happening, and it is going to keep happening until folks come together and stand up and say enough is enough. You know, today, the Department of Homeland Security said that this is sort of the largest, sort of ICE raid in American history. There are reportedly about 2,000 ICE agents descending upon the Minneapolis, St. Paul area of Minnesota, where we know that Somali immigrants seem to be the target of their ire. I want to remind our audience that the woman that was killed today, Renee, a 37-year-old white woman, was sitting in her car. She was there as an observer. And so, Isaac, what does this mean in terms of the culture of protest in this country? What does this mean in terms of our ability to exercise our First Amendment rights? I've been to hundreds of protests over the years in one capacity or another. You've been to a number of protests over the years in one capacity or another. It is our American birthright to be able to protest peacefully against our government and against other actors. Is what happened today intended to be a deterrent for our fellow Americans looking to exercise their First Amendment rights?
It definitely is, and I think that is the plan for Donald Trump and his administration, is to scare people into their homes to say, "Hey, you're not going to protest against me." Because what happened in dictator countries that have dictators, they don't speak out against their dictators, right? They don't speak out against the kings that they want to be in their nations. And I think Donald Trump is trying to portray that here, but we're not a country of kings and queens and dictators. We are a country of people speaking up, making the call of who they want to lead them, making the call to say what they support and what they won't support. And Donald Trump doesn't get to decide when people can protest and when they can't protest, because it is our First Amendment right. And so let's not forget what MAGA stands for. It stands for Make America Great Again. But for who? Mm-hmm. But for who? Are we going to take this back to the 50s and 60s and 70s when we didn't have a voice? If we spoke up, they sick dogs and fire hoses and they hung you from trees. Are we going back to that? Is that really what Make America Great Again means for the Trump administration? And we have to sit with that and think about that as the American people. And we have to really start fighting for us, for ourselves, and fighting for our communities to have a voice that the Constitution said that we have.
It also seems to me that we all have to somehow, some way, get clear-eyed about how we intend to participate in this democracy. As long as we have it, as long as we have remnants of it, we've got to be crystal clear how we're going to participate in it, because democracies don't just survive on their own. Right? Mm-hmm. Just like the government isn't some far off entity, the government is us. We send people there. We pay people, mm-hmm. to advance the public interest. And right now there are people there that are finding ways to privatize the public interest. There are people there, who are using the government as a cudgel against the people, using it to stoke fear, using it to fan the flames of racial resentment, using it as a way to facilitate the aims of white replacement theory. That's what's afoot here. And I get the economic headwinds that are blowing in this country and the concerns that people have and the layoffs that are happening. I get all that. That's also important. It's not one or the other. It's all of the above. But when we turn a blind eye to maddening demonstrations of rage against the people, as we've seen take place in Minneapolis today, when we turn a blind eye to that, it doesn't protect us. It will not protect the people you love. When we come forward more with Isaac Wilson, there is some other news bubbling up. This same administration wants to ramp up the impeachment of judges. I'm going to tell you what Senator Ted Cruz said today, and why we should also be paying close attention to this. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
My name is Tyrone Owens, and this is my home for 23 years that burned in the fire. Me and my wife, Charlene, we had this whole yard decorated every year.
This was the house that sparkled throughout the entire neighborhood on all the holidays. It's a community that will never be the same due to the negligence of a utility company. So I am pretty upset about that.
We were nowhere near being able to rebuild with our insurance. It's going to cost $1 million to put your house back up.
I want to get back to that point where we were before the fire. I was starting to get emotional, but it works with LA Fire Justice has been wonderful for us. They're just caring people. We have all faith in them.
Big ups to LA Fire Justice, who's given us hope to rebuild 100%.
Advertisement. Douglas Foxer, 221 East Walnut Street, Suite 100, Pasadena, California, 91101 is the attorney responsible for this ad.
LA Fire Justice is proud to sponsor Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're definitely going to be late to the concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little detour. I got to fill up my gas tank, and I know this place a couple towns over where the gas is cheaper.
Are you serious? We're going to be late for the concert because you're driving out of the way for cheaper gas? Just use Upside.
What's Upside?
Upside is the free cashback app that gets you real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, I can get cash back just for buying the gas I need anyway?
Yes, I use it all the time, and I've made around $200. Now pull over so you can download the Upside app before we miss the concert.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PATH25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank, PayPal, or as a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PATH25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PATH25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code PATH25.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. He's Dr. Isaac Wilson. And we've been talking a lot about what's transpired on the ground in Minneapolis, Minnesota today, where a 37-year-old woman has been killed by an ICE agent, shot by an ICE agent. Of course, the community is beside itself. The community is in mourning. The community is fed up. The community believes enough is enough. We'll continue to keep you updated as any pertinent details develop this evening while we're on the air. But in other news, you talk about the state of our democracy, the state of our country. You can't ignore what folks are trying to do to politicize our courts, even more than they're already politicized. Republican senators today they increased their scrutiny of federal judges whose rulings they've opposed, with some pushing for them to be impeached. In fact, they're paying attention to these two judges, Washington-based U.S. District Judge James Boasberg and Maryland-based Deborah Boardman, both of whom have fallen afoul of the MAGA world, articles of impeachment naming both Boasberg and Boardman have already been introduced in the Republican-controlled House, but no further steps have been taken. What do you make of this, Isaac? The fact that Republicans are not so preoccupied about making America more affordable. They are not preoccupied with making healthcare more accessible. They are preoccupied with getting rid of, impeaching judges that enforce the Constitution.
Simply, this is what authoritarian politics looks like in real time. When the courts won't rubber stamp your agenda, you try to punish them. So that's not conservative. That's anti-democratic in what they were tasked to do. So this is dangerous rhetoric. Judges are not political employees. So when lawmakers threaten impeachment because they don't like the rulings, that's not oversight. That's intimidation. Impeachment is not a tantrum tool that you just throw out there when you're feeling against judges that they don't make the decisions you want. So if every judge who ruled against politicians got impeached, well, we wouldn't have much of a judiciary. We'd have a suggestion box. So we have to kind of pay attention to this, because in Black and brown communities, these people are standing up for us in some instances, saying, "Hey, Donald Trump, you're going too far." And Donald Trump administration is saying, "No, you're going to do what I tell you to do, or we're going to impeach you," whether it hurts communities of color or any community for that matter or not. So this is going beyond the scope of the presidency, and this is beneath the presidency to even think of something like this.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that there are reports that the U.S. will exit 66 international organizations as it further retreats from global cooperation. The Associated Press and other outlets are reporting at this hour that the Trump administration will withdraw from dozens of international organizations, including the United Nations Population Agency and the United Nations Treaty that establishes international climate negotiations. President Trump signed an executive order suspending U.S. support for 66 organizations, agencies, and commissions following his administration's review of participation in and funding for all international organizations, including those affiliated with the United Nations. This is what the White House has said today. Most of the targets are UN-related agencies, commissions, and advisory panels that focus on climate, that focus on labor, that focus on migration and other issues that the Trump administration has categorized as catering to diversity and so-called woke initiatives. Other non-UN organizations on the list include the Partnership for Atlantic Cooperation, the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, and the Global Counterterrorism Forum. Dr. Isaac, in our remaining minutes, what do you make of this news that is breaking right now as we speak? This news is breaking, and it feels like, our engagement with the rest of the world, including folks who may challenge or disagree with U.S. policy, that those relationships seem to be slipping, if not breaking. What do you make of this?
So this isn't diplomacy, by no means. This is isolationism by executive memo, basically. So when we walk away from the table, don't act surprised when, nobody's inviting us to the next one. And everybody's looking at the United States like we're just third world country or something like that. So dropping 66 organizations isn't strategy. It's a world-class temper tantrum with global consequences. And Donald Trump needs to be held accountable for that. And so if you are elected, you should be paying attention to this and fighting for this. But more so, across all these stories, there's a pattern. It's power without accountability. It's whether it's immigration enforcement, whether it's media stunts, whether it's attacks on judges, whether it's, leaving the 66 organizations. The public deserves and not just some media spin to get clicks and baits and get you on the front of the newspaper. Donald Trump needs to grow up and become an adult. And he's at the highest office in the world, and he's acting like a 12-year-old kid, just doing things just to stay in the news, just to make himself relevant, and not caring about the high prices of gas, the high prices of food. People can't rent houses or can't afford mortgages. These are real issues for the American people. And yet we're worried about leaving organizations that, in a grand scheme of things, they run our country. We need these organizations. And yet you're messing with them when you should be messing with things that would bring the cost down for the American people when people go to the grocery stores to put food on their tables. So this is just another stunt by Donald Trump. And I just hope that somebody stands up in the Republican-led Congress.
Our thanks to Dr. Isaac Wilson, our regular contributor here on A More Perfect Union, Democratic strategist, former South Carolina party chair, helping us to unpack the politics of so many important news stories that are afoot today. Until we meet again, my friend. Coming up in our next hour when we come forward, you don't want to miss my conversation with the survivor of the Eaton fire in Altadena, plus not Microsoft, but MS Now's anchor and author of a new book, Jacob Soboroff, joins me at the top of our next hour. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey says he's angry after a 37-year-old woman was shot and killed by an ICE agent.
We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
Homeland Security claims she tried to ram federal agents and calls it domestic terrorism, while Frey says Department of Homeland Security is framing the shooting as self-defense. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says some people are profiting off of the Palisades fire through social media and book deals. Speaking with KABC TV, Bass acknowledged criticism over her absence when the fire began. And late rapper DMX will be posthumously ordained as a minister this weekend in Foster Memorial AME Zion Church in Tarrytown, New York. Church leaders say the historic Underground Railroad site is honoring DMX for turning his pain into ministry through his music. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
It's a tough drive out of Santa Monica, the 10 eastbound, just solid away from 20th Street all the way to Western in Mid-City. That's because the 10 was shut down for some time due to police activity. All lanes have reopened and traffic now